You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARK, to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to Dr. Lucas, veterinarian consultant, as well as a veterinarian on ear care. Hi, Dr. Lucas. Thanks for being back on the podcast.
Thanks for having me back, Polly.
So we had some listeners that emailed the website, barkandwag.com, about ear infections. So I wanted to have you back to answer those questions. The first question was, how does a dog get an ear infection?
Well, that's a good question. And there are several ways that a dog could get an ear infection. One of the most common ones, and sometimes people do not realize, is that dogs with skin allergies, or what we call atopy, are very prone to develop otitis externa because the skin extends into the ear canal. So the itching and inflammation that affects the skin overall can also affect the ear canal. And a lot of the microbes that could overgrow and cause infection or problems with the skin are the same that cause otitis, right? And that way, recognizing that dogs are allergic, owners need to be on the lookout for ear infections. And so I give you some numbers. About 75% of dogs that consult a veterinarian with an ear infection do have also a history or a current skin allergy going on. So that is a very common factor causing otitis externa. Another thing.
Do you find?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you find that there are certain breeds that have more ear infections than other dogs?
Yeah, all those breeds
like allergies?
Yeah, with floppy ears, those are also prone to develop otitis externa because that ear that is floppy doesn't allow for that ear canal to have good airflow. And as I mentioned on the first podcast, the ear canal in dogs has kind of a nail form. And so whatever gets into that ear canal, if it is bacteria, moisture, or water, if a dog goes to the lake and swims, the dog is not able to get rid of that very well, more so if it has a floppy ear. And then that gets trapped there, the moisture gets trapped, and that creates the right environment for bacteria or yeast to overgrow and cause an infection.
Does food cause ear infections? Or I guess it would be allergies that then cause the ear infections?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And a lot of times there is, because there is a allergy, right? And if the dog has a true food allergy sensitivity to certain types of ingredients within the food, and are those dogs that, itch and traumatize the skin, it could be prone as well to have external otitis. Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of times part of, what we do to treat these complex cases is, use this multimodal approach. So, change the diet, use ear medication, use different type of shampoos, different types of ingredients within the food or food supplements that will improve the way the skin barrier and the health of the skin to kind of minimize the impact of allergens into the skin.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on the podcast, and we look forward to having you back.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks for the opportunity, Polly.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.